The College Football Hall of Fame preserves tens of thousands of artifacts in its collection, but only about 10% of these are on display at any one time. But this does not mean those left in our archive have no story. Every item in our collection has a story, such as the one we're about to tell you now.
Nice to be in orbit.
Imagine a game in which the very best college football players from across the nation play the defending Super Bowl champions. What would that game even look like? Would it be competitive? Could the college kids hold their own against crafty and experienced professionals? Hello, this is Dennis Crawford, historian at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta. And in this, our debut episode of Tales from the Collection, we don't have to imagine such a game, because it really happened. The game was officially called the Chicago Charities College All-Star Game, and it was the brainchild of Chicago Tribune sports editor Arch Ward. Now, Ward knew a thing or two about All-Star games. He was also a key figure in creating the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Proceeds from the game were donated to the Tribune's charitable organization, raising millions of dollars between 1934 and 1976. The College All-Star Game was just one of several pre- and post-season exhibition games featuring collegians and professional football players. But the Chicago game was unique. It matched the defending NFL champions against a selection of college graduates deemed to be the best as determined by the Chicago Tribune. Many of the collegians were already in training camps with their professional teams, but were excused for a few days to practice together in advance of the game. A notable exception to this was University of Chicago halfback Jay Berwanger, the first Heisman Trophy winner and the first ever draft choice of the NFL. Berwanger was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles, but he never signed a contract because he thought he could make more money in private business than in professional football. The Chicago All-Star Game was the closest he ever came to the NFL. Here we see Berwanger's 1936 All-Star Game jersey. You can tell from the bold colors and the high quality of the material that Arch Ward and the Chicago Tribune took this contest very seriously. Berwanger was enshrined into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1954. The collegians played quite well early on in the series despite their lack of preparation and experience. The professionals only won one of the first 5 games, and the games themselves drew over 70,000 people a year to Soldier Field. A memorable collegian victory happened in 1938. Purdue halfback Cecil Isbell led the All-Stars to a commanding 28-16 win over Sammy Baugh and the Washington Redskins. Isbell ran and threw for almost 200 yards in the game and earned Most Valuable Player Award honors. This is Isbell's 1938 Most Valuable Player Award trophy, and it's a real beauty. Isbell later had a successful professional football career with the Green Bay Packers and was inducted into the team's Hall of Fame. He is also inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1967. We also have Ed Bach's helmet from the 1939 contest. And just like the Oregon Ducks today, you can see that even in the 1930s, they would modify helmets for special occasions. The official color scheme of the College All-Stars was this gray or silver, blue, and red. The National Football League won 4 games in a row before the collegians scored another victory with a 27-7 win over the Redskins in 1943. There was just something about Washington that brought out the best in the college players. In the 1943 game, Northwestern's Otto Graham intercepted Sammy Baugh and returned it 97 yards for a back-breaking touchdown. This is Otto Graham's jersey from that game. Graham was also a stellar quarterback at Northwestern, and he was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1956. He later became head coach at the Coast Guard Academy, and that position helped him to become the head coach of the College All-Stars every year in the late 50s and early 60s. His pinnacle may have been 1963, when he beat Vince Lombardi's Green Bay Packers. The 1940s were the high watermark for the collegians. After posting back-to-back shutout victories in 1946 and 1947, the all-time series was nearly tied. However, professional football would undergo a series of changes that would increase their competitive advantage. First was the growth in salaries spurred by the creation of a rival football league. The All-American Football Conference started in 1946, and the competition between it and the NFL for players drove up salaries. These increased salaries made football a viable option now for many college graduates. Another factor was integration. The college all-star teams featured black players for many years, including Hall of Famer Kenny Washington, while the NFL had an unofficial ban on black players until 1946. The steady increase of black players on NFL rosters dramatically increased their talent pool, and they began to win much more regularly in the series. From 1950 until 1975, the NFL won 21 of 25 contests. The last time the colleges won was in 1963 when they beat Lombardi's legendary Green Bay Packers 20-17. By 1976, the appeal of the game began to wane among players and coaches, despite being popular and still attracting more than 50,000 per contest. A lot of head coaches didn't want to subject their high draft choices to the risk of injury in the game, and many of those high draft choices didn't want to play for the very same reason. In 1976, the Pittsburgh Steelers played the All-Stars in a driving rainstorm. Heavy wind, thunder, and lightning forced the game to be canceled in the third quarter, with the Steelers leading 24-0. That ended up being the last time this game was played. This is the helmet worn by Tennessee linebacker Ron McCartney in that 1976 downpour at Soldier Field, and we worked really hard to dry it off before we brought it out for this segment. This helmet is significant because it represents the end of the college all-star game. Due to lack of interest by the NFL, the game was canceled in 1976, bringing to an end what had been a wonderful traditional opening to both the college and professional football seasons. As you can see from this collection of game programs, the Chicago Charities College All-Star Game was a popular gridiron tradition for decades, pitting the best of two football worlds against each other for the benefit of Chicago's worthy causes. There's very little chance such a contest will ever take place again. In fact, the 1976 game marked the last time an NFL team played a non-NFL team. But thanks to the generous donations of artifacts like these, the College Football Hall of Fame will ensure that the story of this most unique of games can be told for generations to come. Thank you for watching Tales from the Collection. Join us again next time as we share more stories inhabiting these artifacts at the College Football Hall of Fame, where every item has a story.